Hello and welcome to the latest captaincy video and podcast of the 2022-23 season as we look ahead to game week 10. My name is Joe, and joining me to pick Erling Haaland as our default captaincy pick for the rest of the season is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scouts deputy editor. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Joe. What a week, game week 9. Lots of 100 plus scores around, wasn't there? But then some kind of a brutal game week for some as well, especially for those that went with Salah captain. But I suppose with this video, we can at least start looking ahead to game week 10 now.
Yes, indeed. And also, I mean, what this gives an idea as well, because a lot of people have been saying, you know, this is going to be the shortest video Fantasy Football Scout I've done. Like, welcome, please, Captain Haaland, goodbye. But what it also helps is, say the worst happens, say Haaland gets injured midweek, we can at least we can think about a vice captain then, and we can think about getting a good alternative in. Also, it helps us to look ahead to game week 12 when we can't captain Haaland because he's absent because Manchester City Arsenal game's off. Yeah, also, it just gives a handy guide to the sorts of players we might want. As well, not just to captain, but just to get in as well. So we want the best players and stuff. So just wanted to thank everyone for joining us in the live chat. Do press subscribe. Do make sure you subscribe to all our videos and do press like as well. Lots of people in the chat saying maybe this should be called the vice captaincy video. Indeed. And so welcome to Tony B, Niraj, Gwiz. K, Graft, Exploring, and more. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to captain Haaland. Okay, so there's some middle bit. Let's see how we're getting there as well. So let's have a look at the fixtures. And I've got a lovely picture of Steven Gerrard clapping. He's so happy. Well, he never looks happy, but he's looking as happy as he does look because your team Villa are top because they're playing Forest, who. Even Danny Ward's getting points against Forest at the moment, so that's a good thing. So Aston Villa are at the top. Leicester against Bournemouth, considered a really easy fixture. West Ham home to Fulham. Man City against Southampton. That's a key one for us Haaland captainers. That's everyone, isn't it? And then so Forest against Villa as well. They think there might be some goals there. Well, have to see. And then far down, you've got Southampton against City. Obviously, that's the worst fixture. Arsenal against Liverpool, real tough one to call that one. So that might count out. Well, even if Haaland didn't exist, that might count out the likes of Jesus and Salah. So yeah, looking at these fixtures, really. Okay, we're going to captain Haaland, but who else stands out as a potential vice captain or alternative should the worst happen to Haaland?
Well, yeah. Firstly, that City fixture is the one you want to be looking at this week. City have scored 36 goals in their last 8 league home matches. They're averaging over 4 per game, stretching back to last season. And I think I'm right in saying that Southampton haven't kept a clean sheet in an away match for about 12 months now. So that's the fixture to go for. But beyond that, I quite like the look of the Chelsea match at home against managerless Wolves. That could potentially be a good one for your Sterlings and Reece Jameses. I think Bournemouth against Leicester as well. I do think that Leicester can kick on after that 4-0 win last night. They've got some firepower. We'll talk about Bournemouth's defence shortly. But I think that's one of the more appealing fixtures this week. And then there's a struggling Forest side against Villa as well, but Villa aren't in a great place either. We're really struggling to score goals at the moment. So I think if you own a player like Watkins or Coutinho, if for some reason they're in your team, then it's a hold for this week. But in terms of captaincy, absolutely not, I don't think.
So, we both captained Haaland. We both had good, strong weeks, and so many other people captained Haaland in game week 9 and had strong weeks as well. So it is possible to climb up the rankings and still captain Haaland, but you just got to make sure your other players are doing the job as well. But how can we get points out of Haaland? So one thing I've tried to do is get the guy as assisting him, and it was something. It's some quite huge percentage of goals this season involve one of Haaland, obviously, and Foden
Yeah.
and Kevin De Bruyne. So you're going to get if you have all three of those, you're going to get the assister and the scorer somewhere along the line, and it's going to really help you there. So I've got Kevin De Bruyne. Matching him up there. Some people have Foden, some people do have all three as well. So I mean, is that a viable strategy as well? Should we be thinking Haaland's not enough? We need to get the lads around him as well.
Yeah, that was exactly my thinking on a wild card a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to supplement him with another City attacker. I also wanted Harry Kane, so I went for Phil Foden, which has worked out really well, actually. Okay. But Kevin De Bruyne is obviously a great option in that City side, given the firepower that they've got. You just got to be wary of that game week 12 blank if you're looking to triple up, and like I think we all are, you just need to be wary with Arsenal blanking as well. But yeah, absolutely, that's the way that we're. If captaincy is taken off us for a while, we've got to look at other areas where we can make up points. So getting that second or third City attacker in, targeting good mid-price midfielders with good fixtures like Maddison, Zaha, that's going to make the difference, I think.
Also, I mean, some people have talked about triple captaining, but I mean, for me, I want to save that until Haaland has 2 fixtures in a week. Imagine that. Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer to save that till later in the season for the double game weeks. But is triple captaining a viable strategy? I mean, it's another great home game for him.
I mean, it can work. I mean, he's 3 consecutive hat-tricks at home he's had now, and if he does that again on Saturday, then obviously that's a decent return. But we've seen what players can do in double game weeks before, players like Salah in previous seasons, and of course rotation becomes a factor as we get further on into that, when the double game weeks usually are. But we can analyse that closer to the time, and I like having it in my pocket for that, for when that arrives. And I would always favour the player with 2 fixtures.
Yeah, me too. Let's have a look at the worst defences. Give us some ideas of the players that we might alternatives, and also for the vice captaincy. I've accidentally found the campest picture I could find of Jarrod Bowen. He's looking exuberant there, but if those listening to the podcast version, Jarrod Bowen's looking quite camp in this picture. But looking at the worst defences, and no wonder he's looking pretty happy with himself, because West Ham play Fulham, and Fulham are the worst defence at the moment for the last 4 matches. Their expected goals conceded is, so I can't keep my eyes off this picture, Jarrod Bowen, 9.36. They've conceded 9 goals, so they're not under or overperforming. They are as rubbish as their expected goal stats say. No clean sheets. So I think West Ham are going to score, and Jarrod Bowen, the man of the moment. Crystal Palace as well. Looking good, looking bad rather, for defences. But Zaha's an intriguing option for the captaincy as well. He's someone I've got in my team, and I've currently got the vice captaincy on him because he's up against Leeds, who are the 3rd worst in terms of expected goals conceded. So Fulham, Crystal Palace, Leeds, and then Leicester. They're sort of the standout awful defences. So I mean, looking at this, say you weren't going to captain Haaland, who would you go for then?
Well, I think just looking at Fulham right there, I mean, I think what we've got to be wary of is when we're using these kind of 4-game samples. I really like looking at them because it shows recent trends. But that last game that Fulham had when they were down to 10 men, for the vast majority of the match, they didn't have Palhinha, really important defensive midfielder for them. I haven't checked, but I would probably say 3 to 4 XG was probably accumulated in that one match against Newcastle. Okay, that's what I haven't checked that, but I bet it was from watching the highlights in that game. I think they've also played Spurs and Brighton in that kind of 4-game sample. Look, it's not a false position. That's where they are, but I'm not sure whether Fulham are the worst defence in the division. So I probably wouldn't. I personally wouldn't be looking at somebody like Bowen. I mean, you've got. I mean, we'll see in the picks later. I mean, I quite like Sterling this week. You've got Wolves at the very end of that table, but the playing style under Bruno Lage, as we all know, I mean, it was very much a safety-first approach. They didn't commit bodies forward. Once it got to 2-0, they were quite happy leaving it at that, weren't they? They wouldn't commit men forward and risk losing 5-0 to get back into the game. So I'm not sure. And they've got a new team of coaches taking over this weekend. So I don't dislike that. You've got Brighton in the middle there, Joe. I mean, obviously we've just got one game under De Zerbi. What did you make of it? Because obviously a lot of people have got Kane. Would that
I mean, that's why I put him in there, because obviously Kane and to a slightly lesser extent, but nevertheless is an option, is Son against them. I think they could be good captaincy shouts if Haaland didn't exist, because what I made of them was that they were very, very similar to how they were under Potter. They set up the same, but there were some little differences. And they did concede 3 goals. I know it was Liverpool, but we're going to talk about it more on the Scoutcast tonight, but I was very impressed with Trossard in a sort of more central number 10 role. And the link-up play with Welbeck I thought was really good there. But Solly March was really bombing forwards. And so down that flank, there could be some joy for some crosses to come in and aimed at Kane. Also, I know one of the goals, Webster was an own goal there, so it did indicate that there could be some joy from set pieces, which once again would elevate the likes of, say, Perisic crossing to Kane.
Good point.
But yeah, so that's why I put them in there, because Kane's always an option, really.
Yeah, I think so. And you've got Southampton in there, obviously, a few places below Brighton. But again, they've had some easier fixtures in that one.
And no clean sheets there. That's key. I mean, Haaland's different as well. I was, when I was on Twitter, I think it was Granville and a few other Manchester United fans were saying, "Are you sure Manchester City?" Because I was talking about Haaland and something, and he was jokingly saying, "Do you think he's saving himself?" Obviously implying that, he's been scoring hat-tricks every week. And I said, well, he does, he has got, we did speak about it last week, his family don't like Manchester United. His dad played for Leeds. And so, there's a lot of history there. And he had said that he was looking forward to this game. And indeed he did. So it was the highest score of the season, I think, in FPL terms.
It absolutely is. It beats Firmino's 22, I think, against Bournemouth. So, you got the feeling within 2-3 minutes of that match of how good City were and how up for it they were.
Well, I've just got to hope that Southampton's offended him somewhere. So let's have a look at let's remove this picture of Jarrod Bowen and then have a look at the captain comparison. So this is the most attacking players over the last 4 matches. Haaland in a universe of his own, expected goal involvement of 4.83, so it's nearly 5 goals across the last 4 matches. He's expected to have scored. He's 11 shots on target, and he's just scoring a hat-trick every game. So, let's ignore him for a moment. Jesus against Liverpool. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't discount him.
Liverpool is struggling, aren't they, at the back?
I'm going to captain him in Sky game.
Okay.
And De Bruyne is another good shout there, but he's the assister of the guy that's scoring. Kane there, expected goal involvement of nearly 3. So these are the top players, the most attacking players. So you've got Jesus, Firmino, interesting at Liverpool, and Salah. Salah's still there, still getting the good stats. 12 chances created, 4 shots on target, last 4. Kane there, 6 chances created, 6 on target. That's familiar Kane. And then Wilson doing well. But we're still looking at Haaland. And then your man Sterling. 6 chances created, 6 shots on target, expected goal involvement of nearly 3. So pretty good, really. Should we just move on to our top 3 picks, really? Because then that might give you a chance to talk about Sterling. Bit of a spoiler there. So
absolutely.
Don't worry, everyone. He's not going to captain Sterling over Haaland, so he's just in the mix. Okay. Here are our top 3 captain choices. Hey, who's your top choice then, Tom, for the game week 10?
Well, it's not Sterling. I could do that. I should do that for clicks maybe one week, but no, it's obviously Haaland, best FPL asset at home against Southampton, no brainer. Moving on. Number 2, I've gone De Bruyne behind Haaland. De Bruyne, it's that all-round points potentially. I mean, I think he's only had 7 shots in the box this season, De Bruyne, but it's that assist, it's that bonus potential, which is what makes him so good. If Haaland does well, De Bruyne will probably do well as well. Maybe not quite as well, but he's still going to have a good week. So if anything were to happen to Haaland against Copenhagen tomorrow night, De Bruyne is where I'd be looking as a replacement captain. And then third, I've gone for Sterling against Wolves, who don't have the manager. I think Chelsea are going to have a lot of the ball in this match. I think they're going to be camped in their own half, and I think a player like Sterling will be important for them. He was on the periphery against Palace at the week. It was quite interesting because he played on the right against Palace in like a 4-2-3-1. You'll know what it's like under Potter, Joe.
Yeah.
Before that, he was a left wing back against Salzburg, or I say wing back. It was like a hybrid winger,
left winger,
back role thing. Trossard role, yeah. So, but then he was on the right, but he was on the periphery, but he still hit the post. He was Chelsea's most advanced player when you look at the average position map. Few shots, few chances created. I think I'm going to need to see more from Chelsea in an attacking sense before I elevate him up near the top. But yeah, Sterling is my third pick. I quite like him outside of the City guys this week.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I've got Haaland at top, my top choice. But I put another couple of players in the mix there, just in case the worst should happen to him. But quite interesting. I do like the look of Bowen against West Ham. We know what Bowen could have done last season. I know his assist was very fortunate this week, but nevertheless his goal, and he's in the position. He's in those scoring positions. He's in the mix with the points there. Obviously, Fulham are going to be a bit more shored up in midfield this time round. But nevertheless, I do think he's a good option. So Bowen, sort of, as we've seen with a lot of players, sometimes they need that bit of confidence, that bit of a lift. So getting themselves on the score sheet, that sort of helps them out a bit. And I do think that could be a good fixture there, because Fulham, you would imagine, going to have to go for it. So they could leave themselves open. And I've got Zaha next, and my vice captain at the moment, so could be my captain should worse happen to Haaland. But I do think that's a great fixture against Leeds. I think Zaha, this could be the sort of match where, because he's playing a bit more. He was playing a bit more centrally at the beginning of the season. He's playing a bit out wide, and I like the thought of Zaha nicking a goal or two in this one. This strikes me as the kind of game that Zaha will get the winner in, and so I just think I'm going to get returns. I don't know. I mean, these are. I
like him.
Yeah, we've got a few names here, but it's that top guy there, number one. We can't look past him, can we? And it's going to be. No. I don't know. Next week's going to be trickier.
Yes.
I personally will still keep the armband on him, but it's a trickier game next week, and then in game week 12, Liverpool next week, isn't it?
It's Liverpool in 11, and then blank in 12. So we'll obviously have to look at other players that week. Game week 12, strap yourself in, because we're going to have about a zillion viewers, because suddenly everyone's going to go, oh, hang on a minute, I've just remembered there's a captaincy. But thanks everyone that has joined us. Thanks for listening to us talk about Erling Haaland. Do press subscribe if you're not already, and do remember to press like. Tom, thanks again. Look forward to chatting to you next week. Slightly trickier fixture for Haaland. Yeah. There's a conversation next week.
Decisions to be made, certainly, especially for the more maverick managers out there. But in the meantime, thanks everyone. And thank you, Tom. And good luck with your game week.
Cheers, Joe.